What's up, Gooners? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we've got 3 stories today that you absolutely need to hear about. Arsenal have entered the race for an 18-year-old winger who is being compared to Erling Haaland. We have bad news regarding Alexander Zinchenko's loan to Nottingham Forest. His injury is much worse than we thought. And Gabriel Jesus may have an unexpected motivation to return stronger than ever. Let's get straight to the point. Gooners, Arsenal have entered the race to sign one of the most exciting young talents in European football right now. His name is Yann Diomande, and if you haven't heard of him yet, you're about to. Arsenal Insider understands that Arsenal have sent scouts to watch the RB Leipzig youngster multiple times this season. And what they're seeing is a player who's absolutely taking the Bundesliga by storm. Diomande is only 18 years old, but he's already having a spectacular start to the campaign for Leipzig. 2 goals and 2 assists in just 5 Bundesliga starts. Those are incredible numbers for someone his age, especially in one of Europe's top leagues. But it's not just Arsenal watching. Liverpool, Chelsea and Manchester City have all shown interest as well. This is becoming a proper race between England's biggest clubs, and that tells you everything about how highly rated this kid is. Here's the context. Arsenal could be in the market for a new left winger next summer. Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli both have contracts expiring within the next 18 months. And if either of them leaves, Arsenal will need to replace them. Acquiring a younger player who can compete with the likes of Eberechi Eze and Noni Madueke in the long term makes perfect sense. And that's where Diomande comes in. The Ivorian winger has taken the German top flight by storm this season, and here's the crazy part. Those within the Red Bull group reportedly believe that Diomande is the greatest prospect they've had on their books since Erling Haaland. Let me repeat that. Since Erling Haaland, that's the level of talent we're talking about here. That's the comparison people inside his club are making. Despite only starting 6 times in the league last season for Leganes, who were actually relegated to Spain's second division, Leipzig were so convinced by him that they activated his €20 million release clause. The teenager signed a 5-year deal with the Bundesliga club, and they're already potentially prepared to offer him a new contract to fend off interest from multiple clubs. Transfer expert Graham Bailey told Arsenal Insider that the Gunners are one of those taking a close look. Bailey said, "Diomande is a fascinating player who is taking Europe by storm since he arrived in January, and Arsenal are one of those taking a close look. They like what they see, but so does everyone." We are talking about a potentially very special player. So what makes Diomande so special? Let's break down his game. He's yet to show that he can provide massive value in the final third consistently, but for a player of his age, he's already ahead of where you'd expect him to be. His decision-making just needs a little fine-tuning, which is completely normal for an 18-year-old. But where he's already shown remarkable skill is in his dribbling. Diomande is completing 4.81 dribbles per 90 minutes for Leipzig. If he sustains that rate, it would make him one of the most prolific dribblers in world football. That's elite company. This attribute can be incredibly valuable when harnessed to create threat in the final third as he develops. And with several top clubs now specifically trying to source players who can beat defenders one-on-one, it's no surprise he's attracting this level of attention. He's smooth when gliding with the ball, he's got a frightening initial burst of pace, and he fits that aesthetic profile that gets fans off their seats. Combine this with his exceptional work rate out of possession, and Diomande has the raw attributes that make him worth investing in. Arsenal need to act fast on this one, Gooners. With Liverpool, Chelsea and City all circling, this won't be an easy signing to pull off. But if Andrea Berta can beat the competition and secure Diomande, we could be looking at a future superstar wearing the Arsenal shirt. Zinchenko injury worse than expected. Loan spell nightmare. Now let's talk about Alexander Zinchenko, because we've got some concerning news about Arsenal's loanee at Nottingham Forest. Zinchenko was forced off the pitch with an injury during Forest's Europa League match against FC Porto back on October 23rd. At the time, manager Sean Dyche didn't seem too worried about it. He said it was going to be touch and go for the Bournemouth game that same weekend, suggesting it wasn't serious. But Zinchenko didn't return against Bournemouth. He didn't play against Manchester United. He didn't feature against SK Sturm Graz. And now he's been excluded from the Ukraine squad for the upcoming November internationals. In his latest update, Dyche was a lot less optimistic. He said Zinchenko is a no at the moment, unfortunately, and is going to be a bit longer than we thought. So what looked like a minor knock has turned into something much more serious. It's unclear exactly when the defender might return to action, but the game away to Liverpool on November 22nd is now the very earliest he could be expected back on the pitch. That's a month away. The injury has been reported to be a groin issue, which is particularly concerning because Zinchenko already missed multiple matches in October with a groin problem. So this could be a recurring issue or an aggravation of the previous injury, neither of which is good news. It's been far from the ideal start to Zinchenko's loan spell. He's made just 6 appearances in over 2 months at Nottingham Forest. That's nowhere near the regular playing time Arsenal hoped he'd get when they sanctioned the loan move. The whole point of sending Zinchenko on loan was for him to get consistent minutes, rebuild his confidence, and prove his fitness after struggling with injuries at Arsenal. But instead he's dealing with more injury problems at Forest. This has to be frustrating for everyone involved. Frustrating for Zinchenko, who just wants to play football, frustrating for Forest, who brought him in to strengthen their squad, and frustrating for Arsenal, who need to see their asset get back to his best. Already ruled out of the international break, Zinchenko's full focus now will just be on getting fit and finally staying healthy. But with groin issues lingering, there's genuine concern about whether this is something that could keep bothering him throughout the season. Arsenal will be monitoring this situation very closely. If Zinchenko can't get fit and stay fit at Forest, it raises serious questions about his long-term future at the club. We'll have to wait and see how this develops, but right now, it's not looking great. Alright, let's finish with some potentially positive news about Gabriel Jesus, because the Arsenal striker might have found unexpected motivation to come back from injury better than ever. Jesus has had a nightmare 2025. Just as he was finding form after a lengthy scoring drought, he suffered a devastating ACL injury. He's been out for almost 10 months now, and while he's stepping up his recovery, he's not close to returning to Arsenal's first team just yet. There's been talk that Arsenal are ready to sell Jesus, with his former club Palmeiras hopeful of taking him back. But Jesus has made it clear that he's got one thing on his mind, and that's redeeming himself under Mikel Arteta. But it's not only about making a name for himself at Arsenal. There's something else driving Jesus now: the 2026 World Cup. Now, the idea of Jesus making Brazil's squad might seem out of reach, given how long he's been injured and how competitive that team is. But it's not entirely unimaginable, especially after what Brazil coach Carlo Ancelotti just revealed. Ahead of the November international break, Ancelotti was asked about his decision to call up Richarlison, the Tottenham striker who's been out of form and barely playing for his club. Ancelotti's answer was fascinating. He said, "Richarlison has the profile of a reference point in the area, Gabriel Jesus too. We are looking for a central striker with this profile. Richarlison isn't playing much right now, but as a centre-forward, he has scored many goals for the Brazilian national team." So Ancelotti's making it clear he needs a central striker with a specific profile, and he's willing to overlook poor club form if the player fits what Brazil needs. For Gabriel Jesus, hearing this admission might be exactly the motivation he needs, because on his day, Jesus can offer way more than Richarlison. And there's evidence that Ancelotti knows this too. Before Real Madrid faced Manchester City in 2023, Ancelotti described Gabriel Jesus as a very dangerous striker that Pep Guardiola had lost. That's high praise from one of the greatest managers in football history. Let's look at Jesus' record for Brazil, because it's actually better than most people realise. He's made 64 appearances for his country, scoring 19 goals and providing 13 assists. That's 32 goal contributions in total. Compare that to Richarlison, who scored 20 goals in 54 appearances for Brazil. Jesus has 1 goal less, but in 10 more games, and he's got way more assists. The numbers are actually very similar. The last time Jesus played for Brazil was November 2023, before his injury. The last time he scored for his country was June 2022. So it's been a while, but if he can return to action with a bang, If he can prove his fitness and start scoring goals for Arsenal, there's absolutely a path back into that Brazil squad. Ancelotti knows what he needs. A central striker who can be a reference point in the area, someone who can score goals. Gabriel Jesus, when fit and in form, is exactly that player. It would be incredible for Jesus to make the 2026 World Cup, especially given everything he's been through with this ACL injury. But stranger things have happened in football. And now that he knows there's an opportunity, now that he's heard Ancelotti talking about the profile he needs, Jesus has additional motivation to make an impact when he returns from injury. This could be the spark Jesus needs. Not just to revive his Arsenal career, but to earn a spot in Brazil's World Cup squad. And if that motivation helps him come back stronger than ever, Arsenal will be the big winners. What do you think, Gooners? Do you want Arsenal to go all out for Diomande? Are you worried about Zinchenko's injury problems? And do you think Jesus can make Brazil's World Cup squad if he comes back strong? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an Arsenal update. Until next time, Gooners, come on you Gunners!